Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be looking at a Stihl MS290 Farm BOSS, and it's having some idling issues, so we're going to take a look at the carburetor and see what we can find out. So before I go any further, I'm going to show you this. If you can see right there in the middle, there's a gap. There should be a grommet that goes over the carburetor on the left, slips over the air filter or the white on the right there, and you can see there's a gap right in the middle. So I'm guessing that's one of the reasons why this chainsaw is not running properly. So I went ahead and loosened the bolts on here. That way it's a little quicker. Just slip that off. As you can see, there's no rubber grommet from here onto here. So there's a little bit of a gap. And if you get real close, you can't make it out, but you can see a little bit of dirt in there. And that got sucked right into the carburetor, so I bet you that's gummed up. So we'll take these two bolts off, disconnect the fuel lines, throttle linkage, pull this carburetor off, take these 4 bolts out, and then we'll take a look inside. So I got an 8mm to pull these 2 nuts off. And on the right side of the carburetor there's another rubber grommet that kind of goes around the idle screw and the high and low. We'll take that out. And as you can see, I just pushed this back a little bit so it's cleared out of this area. Next, squeeze the throttle linkage up, and it's really difficult to do this with one hand, but you got to pop it up out of this groove here. And then the next step we're going to do is disconnect a fuel line on this side and a hose line on this side. Really all you need to do is gradually pull the carburetor back and use like a flathead screwdriver, just a nice and easy pry as you're pulling on both sides. There's one here and one on this side. And you can leave the throttle linkage attached. And we're going to take the top cover off. And before you break these screws loose the whole way, it's a good idea to have a rag underneath, because there could be some residual fuel inside here that you don't want to get all over your hands. Or maybe you do. Another tip I want to point out is if you are new to breaking down carburetors, be very careful as to which piece goes where when you start taking it apart, because it has to go back the same way. Now that the screws are off, we'll go ahead and take this cover off and see what it looks like inside. And look at that diaphragm, all that sawdust that's on that diaphragm. I'm going to take the other side out and see if that inlet screen's plugged up with dirt also, or sawdust, because the other side was. Maybe this side is too. And that's not bad. There's actually no debris in there, so that's clean, but if you look on the filter or on this side, you can see that there's some in there. So go ahead and hit this with carb cleaner and then reassemble it. Now that that's cleaned off, just put it right back together. Next, we'll reinstall the carburetor. All we do is line these 2 holes up with the 2 bolts. And what I like about this Farm BOSS is it's got fuel line, but it's got its own little groove right here. So you get these holes lined up and everything else lines up perfectly. And that's really great, man. You just line these 2 up, slip it right in. Oh, that's fantastic. This is a throttle linkage. Remember, we just squeeze this forward, push this in, and it slips right down that notch. Then reattach this plate and bolt it down. And I don't have the new part yet, so we have to wait to put that grommet onto here, and then we can attach the air filter, and then we'll fire it up. So it's a few days later. I got the part number. I got this on eBay. It was $4. Slip it on here, and then reattach our air filter, and then we'll tighten down our air filter bolts. There's a side view of me going in there. See how that fits in there? There's no gap anymore. You got to give the viewers what they want. So on this saw, what happened was, because that outer cover wasn't on there, there was a small gap, and so the air that was getting sucked into the carburetor was sucking in sawdust also. And as you can see earlier in the clips, that there was debris on top of the metering diaphragm, and you couldn't get the low and high side on the carburetor tuned right, so the saw wasn't running properly. But now that this is installed, it should be just fine. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time from the Neighborhood Go-To Guy.